Tēnā koutou e te iwi whānui, nau mai oki mai ki te wāpā rika rika tō tātou hōtaka pau tū te rangi. Nō reira, ka noho tonu tātou o roto i tēnei taumata o te tuawā, o roto i enei wā o COVID-19. I o te anō rā, ko te mea nui noho mārire koutou o roto i o koutou ake kāinga, aroha tētei ki tētei, kia kotahi ai tātou te tū, kotahi ai tātou o roto i enei wā. E o te anō rā, with me today, kei runga i tō tātou nei pukamata ana ka kōrero atu au kia Kura mā huki huki Ratapu e te tuakana, tēnā koe, nau mai oki mai. Iarere mai ki te Korimako o Taranaki.
Tēnā koe tai, tēnā tātou katoa.
Ai, tēnā koe kura. Nō reira, ka noho koe o roto i te tuawā, te taumata tuawā ki Tamaki Makaurau. So you're in Tamaki Makaurau, and of course, you know, we've been hearing a lot of sad stories coming from Tamaki, and with the numbers going up as well. How are you?
We are fine. I am fine. You're right, though, just every day, actually every couple of hours, things are changing, numbers are going up, and it doesn't look like the figures are going to come down anytime soon. So I guess that's why it's important that we just try and look after ourselves and look after our whānau. Up here in Tamaki, there's lots that are happening in terms of, you know, I'm out in South Auckland, so that's the heart of everything, I guess. And because during the last lockdown, there was a huge concern that if there was a big outbreak in South Auckland, that the health authorities wouldn't be able to manage it. So in the space between last year and now this year, they've come up with a few other things. And one of those, of course, being the vaccines, people getting tested as well. And our Māori health providers are doing a great job. A lot of iwi as well are doing a great job and trying to provide good information to our whānau out there to make sure that they can make an informative decision on getting vaccinated. Some, of course, don't want to, but so long as you give them the information, I guess, then that's all we can ask for them, to just heed those warnings.
Ai, tēnā koe kura e te tuakana. You know, we've heard some stories coming from the Pasifika island, our whanaunga, that the call wasn't made earlier enough, the help wasn't there earlier enough. Is that really what's happening in Tamaki Makaurau, you know, for our Pasifika and our Māori iwi?
Well, you know, I watched a news story the other night with Barbara Drever, who's the TVNZ, she's the Pasifika correspondent, and she said that with the people she's been talking to, church leaders, people in the community, they just think that the government's failed them. William Seal, who is the MP for Māngere, he seems to think that they're doing a pretty good job, but, you know, everybody has their own views on it, but a lot of the Pasifika leaders are saying, look, we need to knock this on the head. We need to be a part of the strategy. You know, don't come to us when it's already out there.
Yeah.
Should have been there at the table. And that's also how Māori feel as well, that don't wait until the outbreak is so uncontrollable that you don't ask for our help, because we know how to look after our people. And everything that the Pacific community is saying is exactly what the Māori community is saying as well. The churches, I mean, where we are in Māngere, on our main road, which is Robertson Road, is probably like 7 churches within that area. And I think earlier in the week, one of those churches was mentioned, and one of our Pasifika whānau, Wilero Lahia, he's saying, you know, can you stop saying that it's a Samoan church, because we don't do the same when it's an Anglican church. We don't go on and name you. So that's another form of racism. And Wilero Lahia, he's well known in the Polynesian Panthers scene, but also in terms of working alongside Māori as well.
Yeah, yes, I see that they started with Samoan churches and then they went to AOG
Yeah.
later on in the piece. But yesterday, when the whole nation actually saw the amount of people that were going to the AOG church to get their vaccinations or to be tested, why was it? Do you understand why? You know, they're saying that there's so many testing stations up there. How could they forget that amount, that number, and the nation saw it yesterday?
And that's why Pasifika are saying that they need to be a part of it, because the majority of their people go to the church. That's where they should be having the testing stations, the vaccination centres. And this happened in the last lockdown as well, where Pasifika felt that they were being left out of things. So they started setting up drive-ins, food banks, because let's face it, this almost looks like this is going to be the norm for quite a while. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but it's not going to go away.
Do you have thoughts of coming home?
You know, I don't know what it was, but over in the weekend, actually on Sunday, I just had this really bad ache in my heart, and I wanted to hop in my car and take off back home, because I just wanted to go to the Urupa and see my mum and my dad and that, but it was like, can't do that because we're in a hot spot at the moment, and even though I might have had both vaccines and tested negative, I don't want to, do that risk down home. So it's just about staying in my bubble, but yep, definitely miss home and miss everybody. I mean, my younger brothers and nieces and mokos are down there as well. So just wondering how they're getting on. But, thanks to technology and the likes of Facebook, we're able to message one another. My moko, he turned 8 last Sunday. So it's the first time that we've never been with him to celebrate any of his birthdays. So it was jumping onto Messenger, and we all go along singing with our whānau. And just see those.
No reira, ka rongo ki te tuoroto I tō ngākai. No reira, ai, ka tangi tātou, kia koutou. E noho nei o roto I e nei wā o taua ngāngara. No reira, coming back to, you and I talking about that now, in terms of how the communities are getting on, our Māori community, well, all communities actually, with food and the delivery of food. I've heard some stories out there that, it's taking us such a long time to get kai to people, and with Tamaki being as big as she is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're Radio Waatea we're a part of Ngā Whare Waatea Marae, and it's basically like a complex. So within it, we have lots of different services that are there. So, and the radio station comes under Manukau Ipa Māori Authority, which is the big, that's the headquarters and that for everything. So what they did last week was opened up their food bank services again, and they have their own page. So what happens is if people need any help in terms of food, all they need to go on to MUMA for short, go onto their page and they need some awhi, they need some kai, and then what will happen, they take down your details, they take down your license plate number, and nobody gets through unless they are on the book. The very first time this happened, just got inundated with people turning up, but this time around it's all contactless. So we've got security on the gate, and they go along, check all your details and that, let you through. You come down to the food bank, you stay in your car, they go along, they put the boxes into your car, and then you just drive off. So nobody touches anybody. There's no windows being wound down. They just go along, show the name, show the license plate, and it's a nod, and then they just check everything, and away you go and get your kai. But, there's also other services as well that MUMA provide. So we have whānau order services, budgeting services. Another one they do is prisoner rehabilitation services there. So one of our people, he just went up to Pāremoremo on Tuesday to bring back one of the ex-inmates and put him into the halfway house as well, just up the road from the marae that Muma also looks after, and just trying to get them back into society, because it's not always easy for them. You know, they've been inside, and when they do come out, they have to go into a halfway house, and it's during COVID. So, you know, there's that loneliness still for them.
You know, Tamaki, what is your 5th time you've been into different levels? You know, you come off level 1, and either whether it be level 2, 3, or 4. You and as you said to me before, that it's becoming the norm now that you're having to live in these levels. And what does normality look like? Tell me, Kura, how is it different, or how different was it from last year when we had the full lockdown for the motu?
Yeah, I think it's still, people are still relatively concerned out in South Auckland, because it's, you know, there's a high rate of Māori and Pasifika, and we know that our health isn't the greatest. We know that we're susceptible to so many illnesses that we try really hard to make sure that we wear the masks, that we keep our 2 meters, all of those sorts of things, because we can't risk it. We can't risk it for ourselves, our kaumātua, and for our mokopuna. So we have to be vigilant. And this time around, I think we've learnt. We learnt a lot from the first lockdown, where that was just scary. That was scary.
Yeah.
But this time around, because we're used to going in and out of different lockdowns, and that we're, you know, it's becoming the norm. It's becoming normalized. But one of the things, though, I mean, even after we came out of lockdown, I mean, scanning, it doesn't take long. I mean, we all take out our phone when we hear the text message come through, and the same thing can be done with your phone, or even just to write down your name and a contact number. And I mean, I mean, the supermarkets up here are taking a hammering, and the workers are taking a hammering. You know, they get abuse. I've been up to our local supermarket here, and they haven't had flour or sugar for probably the whole week.
Wow.
And, you know, and people get in there. I mean, you're now lining up outside, and the lines are long, but once you get through, it's pretty quick, you know, once you get into the supermarket. But when there's something in there that's not there, your normal basic grocery items, people get hoha, people start getting a little bit testy and abusive. And, you know, the other thing I've seen is eggs. Eggs are now running low. They're running low.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So I think now some people are going to start going off to the dairies to see what they have to buy their flour. I mean, milk, butter, all of those sorts of things are still there in the supermarket for the majority of the time. They're always filling up. But, you know, one of the other things that I've noticed, is the price. The price of meat. Oh, golly gosh. It's one of the reasons why I was home. I would ring up to the farmer on our farm and say, "Oi, give us a cow," you know, cut it up, sort of thing, so we can divvy it out to our whānau. But the prices up here are unbelievable. You know, a little blimmin' piece of pork belly is like $23. You know, and that's probably just going to feed Weta.
And, look, you know,
it's like mints. You know, you get a little packet of mints, and it's like $15, and I'm like thinking, can't morph it. You know, that used to be a poor man's food, mints. You know, that was like a Monday night dinner with onions and mixed veggies that we ate as kids. But now it's just, it's incredible, the prices that they're doing.
I feel for you. And again, you know, it's coming back to these demands that need to be met and should have been met via the government. And I suppose, you know, when you don't have anybody across the floor arguing or, you know, putting their point across about what's going on within all of our regions, especially our MPs who want to have their say, and we're told, no, you're going into select committee. You know, there's not much of an impact on that when they can't be seen in Parliament face to face, and that's what it's all about. What's your thoughts on that, Kura?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we put a lot on our MPs, and especially the Māori ones. And, you know, like every month we're lucky enough to get the Prime Minister on with our husband. And so she was on the other morning, and I was like, you know, ask her what we all want to know about Māori and how we're faring, and about the testing, and about the vaccinations, but also what's happening in terms of prices and people's money. Because it's another thing. You know, my son-in-law's been, you know, ever since lockdown, he hasn't been at mahi. And I worry about him because of the last time when businesses were getting their workers to use up their holidays and their sick days, and that's rather than put too much of a burden on the businesses. So I'm just hoping that he still has his mahi. Yeah, those are the other things we have to look at as well.
They're concerning. They're really concerning. You know, hear me out. Whānau, Kura.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, you know, around Papatoetoe, we're in Papatoetoe, and just on our road, there's probably about 5 big building lots going on. So there's apartments being built on this short road. And, you know, those people were in lockdown level 4, so they can't work. And a lot of the guys, when I saw them prepping the gear, so one of the places, our neighbours, they've actually sold up. Developers come in, he's put up like 8 apartments. And I'll tell you what, yeah, where it was one house, there's now 8 apartments, and they go up. So they're like 2-story homes now. You know, a lot of the workers he had there, you can tell that they're not skilled, but they're skilled labourers. So I worry about them and how this is going to affect them and their whānau. Obviously, developers will be, you know, checking their bank accounts and that as well, and thinking, can I still afford to have this person on as one of my workers? So there's all of that. I mean, our health workers that are front line, you know, and
exactly.
I know up in Auckland, some of them were getting abused because people waiting were saying, you're taking too long. Well, gee, sorry, but it happens in times like these. And so you've just got to show a bit of compassion in that towards one another, because I'm sure they don't do that to go along and make you feel hoha. Hey.
No, exactly. You know, they don't want to be standing there for 8 hours or 9 hours a day. Hey, but exactly. You know, people like that, go to your MP. You know, go and complain to your MP.
Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, Bernie's really close with Willie Jackson. Yeah. I mean, you know, they've been mates since they were blooming.
Buddy man.
Yes. Oh gosh. But you know, they talk to one another basically every night. And so, you know, Bernie said that he was talking with Willie and you know, just saying, you know, what the concerns of Māori are, and Willie's like, I know, bro, I know what the concerns of our people are. He goes, they're my concerns as well. He goes, but you know, when you're in Parliament, you can't just go along and change the world just like that. He goes, there's a process. He goes, just like in Te Ao Māori, how we have processes. He goes, in this world over here, there's processes that we have to go through. He goes, but don't think that we don't know what's happening with our whānau. I mean, Penny Henare, I mean, his partner is my niece. And so he knows as well, and being the whānau order minister, he and the associate minister for health, he knows all of those things, and he would love to get out there and personally help wherever he can. And I don't mean with his mouth, but physically in that, in terms of helping our whānau out. But in these times, they also have to stay safe. So I guess...
I think what we need to do is have our Māori MPs join together, whether you're from Labour, whether you're from Māori Party or any other, together and come up with those solutions. Everybody has, every Māori MP or even Pasifika MP in Parliament always has people coming in, you know, either he amu he harane, but you know, it's pretty much the same. They should, well, tōku nei wakaro, they should be coming together for Māori.
For the benefit of our people, absolutely.
For the benefit of our people, rather than trying to fight each other on things that really, you know, you're not going to do it on your own.
It's that political world that they live in. So, you know, it's like there's National over there and there's ACT over there and there's Labour here and the Māori Party and the Green Party. So, yeah, I mean, just coming together to agree on some things and, and just knowing what it is that is important to our people. So don't think you know what our people want. Ask them. Ask them. Find out. I mean, you know, it's, and for some it might be a bit humbling, but, you know, if it's going to work and if you really want to help our people, you'll do your darndest to make sure that you do help.
Well, I'll tell you what, could it come 1 o'clock? I think it's still 1 o'clock. We'll know what's going on with the levels. They may change for different areas, but I'm sure that Tamaki Makaurau, well, you are right up until Tuesday, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. So I reckon we'll stay like this for quite a while. The rest of the motu, I'm not sure. I mean, I think I saw water testing down in Christchurch had come back with a positive result. I mean, I know that they've only got a very small number of people that might have COVID, but, you know, once it spreads, and that was always the concern, that once Delta came out, that it was going to hit our communities and hit them hard. So it's about being vigilant, and it's not about outscoring with the anti-vaxxers, those that don't believe in it. It's just about making sure that you have the information, because a lot of people are uncertain. One of the things, you know, that I hear is, well, what's in the vaccination? And I think, well, you know, when I was a kid in at primary school, you know, you'd line up in the hall, you'd roll your sleeve up, you got a jab, and that was it. But now people are saying, oh, but, you know, there's a risk that you could end up with this disease or that disease. The other thing they're saying with the vaccinations is that in 2 years' time, you could end up sterile. So, you know, I think, okay.
Yeah, it's you know, I saw a post from Ratapu Wall, and he spoke about tino rangatiratanga, our rights. And he wasn't a man for the jab either, but after being talked to and it been explained to, and having his other whānau around him saying, well, you know, bro, if you don't get the jab, then don't come around to my place.
Yeah, a lot of people have been like that.
Yeah, so that's that side of tino rangatiratanga where it's reciprocal. Eh?
Yes, it is. But, it is. No, so I was just about to say we've been really fortunate with down at the marae, because one of our workers down there, Puhihuia Wade, she works closely with Turiki Healthcare, who are based here in Māngere. And so any of our staff that needed to get a jab, she was able to go along and organise something for the kaimahi, because one of the things, if you are coming onto the marae and everybody that's working there have had their vaccines, they get regularly tested, because we also don't, while we welcome you to come in, we don't want you going away and having a blimmin' COVID. So, yeah, that's just part of the things that we have to do.
Listen, Kura, it's been wonderful talk. We could talk forever. We could talk forever.
So many things.
We were going to talk about the birds and the bees.
Pardon?
We were going to talk about the birds and the bees, but we won't do that right now.
You know, I just want to acknowledge you, though, Di, and with Hene, how she's got her little business going for hairdressing. So that's awesome to see. But also your boy as well, Bobby, and the mahi that he's been doing in the fashion world. And I mean, I had organised a interview with him because of his latest project that he was a part of, but because of COVID, that had to be postponed. But you know, I remember being over in Heretonga a couple of years ago for the Māori Music Awards, and he actually put on a fashion show there, and it was awesome. I loved his creativity, but I also liked the kakahu in that he had, because it's like, yeah, anybody can wear it. It's realistic. It's to be worn, whereas some of the funky stuff that you see with other fashionistas and that is like,
it's only for age groups, say other ones. I'll tell you the impact that he had at the last fashion show, New Zealand fashion show that Robert and I went to, and his show was just totally different to every other show that was running that week. But not only that, it showed true Aotearoa New Zealand. In home.
Because when I was organising the interview, I mean, the PR people, they were saying, oh, you know, you really should talk to him, and then they're telling me about who he is and this, that, and the other. I went, I know who he is. You know how I know? I know his mummy. And how do I know? Because I'm from Taranaki as well. And he was like, oh, okay. We'll leave it there then, eh? He goes, we'll just organise the thank you very much. And so, yeah, I crack up whenever that happens. And Bernie, sometimes he's like, yeah, gee, go easy. And I'm like, no. I go, they think they know them, but they don't know them. But, you know, just like that, I understand that you'd spoken with Bernie the other day as well. And he's down there in Poineke still with our mokopuna and our eldest boy. And I'm glad that he's there. Not because it keeps me, you know, keeps him out of my hair, but also just to make sure that our moko are fine. You know, we ring up to one another every day, and he spoke to me earlier this morning, and we start off really, really good in our conversations. And by the end of the conversation, it's like, I gotta go now, I gotta hurry. I'm like, yeah, okay. Then he goes, love you, yeah, love you too. And then, you know, he'll go along, he'll text back to me, and he goes, what are you up to? I'm like, are we still talking? But yeah, I mean, I miss my mate. You sound
like me and Robert. You sound like Boy and I. There's a ring up. Are you all right? Yeah, okay. I'll see you later.
Yep, exactly. But I do miss him. But I'm so glad he's there. And you know, one of the other things is that Pete had his first jab up here. Probably that was back in May. And we missed the second one because we both got sick. So when he was down there, he's like, oh, he's panicking because he's like, oh, you know, I haven't had my second jab. I'm like, calm down. I was like, go along and put a message out. So what he did, we have our own Te Atiawa Ki Tamaki page.
Oh,
so what happened was that he put up a message and asked, where can I get a jab from? And it was Amokura that came back and says, Pipitea, don't ask any questions. Pipitea is the place. So he went down there on Sunday afternoon, and he just felt so much better. So he's, and now that they're looking at rangatahi as well, he's put in our mokos, so they're off to get theirs on Saturday. So yeah, it's good having koko down there.
Okay, Kura, with that, I mean, it's been wonderful talking to you. It's nice for the maunga to catch up with you. Koina te mea nui o te Korimako o Taranaki, te whakapāpā o atu. But it's been wonderful having you on board with us on behalf of te Korimako o Taranaki, our crew here, our whānau here, and the whole of the maunga. Nei rā tāku e tuku te mihi aroha ki a kōtau, e noho nei I raro I tēnei taumata, tēnei ngāngara e wakapāwiwi mai ai I a tātou. Nō reira norunga I tērā, a ko aki nei, a tōna wā, ka ki te tāua a ka nohi mai, tāua no.
Tēnā tātou.